So I want to go back to the Paul Feinbaum clip as we bring in Ryan Wilson, CBSSports.com, with the First Pick podcast, and he covers the NFL like nobody's business. Ryan, first of all, thank you for joining us on a sweltering summer day here. And actually, I don't know if it's sweltering outside. I'm just assuming because it's July. But I want you to hear this from Paul Feinbaum, who said this coming out of SEC Media Day at the potential of a Nick Saban return to coaching. Here's this.
I think he better be on the cut line of the playoffs at the minimum. But I want to go back to Nick Saban, if I could divert for a second, because that story came out of here yesterday from one of his former players. And I know a lot of people thought maybe he would go to LSU. Nick Saban's not going to LSU. But I got, Kevin, I don't know what you think about this, but I have the perfect job for Nick Saban. 45 minutes from his brand new home in Jupiter, go down to Miami, shake that system up. Unfortunately, the first thing he would have to do as the Dolphins coach, where he once coached, is get rid of Tua Tagovailoa, a quarterback who won him a national championship. But I think if he got Jim Harbaugh money, which he's certainly deserving, and maybe a little more, I think that's where people ought to look if Nick Saban ever resurfaced.
What do you think? Nick Saban, not back to the Dolphins because that's kind of silly, but Nick Saban to the NFL.
I'm glad you added the qualifier for the Dolphins. I was thinking the first time around it didn't work out, and there's a fun story I have to tell you about how my coworker Danny Canales' dad's an orthopedic surgeon. He was the orthopedic surgeon for the Dolphins when Nick was trying to decide between Dante Culpepper and Drew Brees. And I just won't say where the finger now points, maybe wrongly, about why they settled on Dante as opposed to Drew. The other thing is, the other fun connection is my good buddy Rick Spielman was the GM in name only, he will tell you, for Saban down there until Saban fired him. So they're now back on the same page, and they're good with each other. But I think you're right. Silly might be the best way to describe going to the NFL, South Florida for Nick Saban. But the other thing, and I suppose college is becoming more like the NFL with the NIL money and players leaving after every season for better deals, and I understand all that part of it. But that's part of the reason Nick left college. He thought the game was changing too fast, and he didn't feel like perhaps keeping up with it. So I don't know if things are suddenly better in the NFL now as the college game continues to evolve. And he's 73. He seems to have a good time doing game day and hanging out with and joking around with Pat McAfee. I don't know if he wants to get back to that grind. And the other thing, when you talk to people at Alabama, one of the reasons he also left was because of his wife, Miss Terry. And I think maybe she wasn't of full health then. Maybe she's great now. Hope she is. But I would imagine that would also play a factor in determining whether he's going to go back to an 80-hour-a-week job as a 73-year-old.
Ryan Wilson, CBS Sports, is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show at Ryan Wilson CBS on Twitter. Here's the other thing. I went hard in the paint on it, but it's okay. I think that Nick Saban could come to the NFL and be a good coach. I mean, fine. I mean, regardless of what happened at Miami, however many years ago. I think he'd be fine. He'd be an average NFL coach. But why would I pay whatever it is, $15 million a year for average? And to me, that there's more coaching, more X and O complications dealing with the best players in the world against the other best players in the world at the NFL level, that I just don't. I think that the two sports are different. Two games are different. The sport is the same, but the games are entirely different as they are played. And that, the difference between Andy Reid and Nick Saban in coaching is vast, in my opinion anyway. And I think that's same about the NBA versus college basketball. We don't give how good the coaches are enough credit in the NFL, and we see that there's a wide gulf in coaches.
The other thing, and I think when you talk to the Alabama players as they come through, we typically get them at the combine, the defensive players especially, but even the offensive players, to a person, talk about what a great human being Nick Saban has been for them and their lives developmentally. And also that defensively, there's none better as a coach. But to your larger point, I think the trade-off and the sort of gradations between Andy Reid and coaches 16 through 32, if you're going to rank them. And as we churn through these young coaches, it feels like an owner and a GM might be better served hiring a 38-year-old who's, worked for McVay or Shanahan or whomever and you're paying coach minimum, quotation marks, whatever that is, as opposed to the premium you're talking about for Nick Saban, who is 73. I would imagine his heart would be in it if he decided to come back, but at 73, how many years are you getting? Can he relate to these players? He did it a few years ago to Alabama, as I just mentioned, but this is, you're aiming at a moving target, it feels like, when you're trying to relate to 21 to 24-year-olds in the age we live in. And I think that's what you have to consider. I think he's a great coach, but Andy Reid is the anomaly. He's not the average coach who's age 65 or older and having such success. And I think it just doesn't make sense to me on the surface. If you told me he went to like a Division III college to coach, that would make much more sense to me, because he's doing it to coach. He's not doing it to win a national title or Super Bowl.
Like if he, if I'm not suggesting that this should happen, but if Dave Doran left state, if I were NC State, I would throw $20 million at Nick Saban and say, "Come be my coach. Give me whatever you can give me." That's what I would do. Yeah,
and that his track record is much more proven than the guy in Chapel Hill who continues to be in the news for non-football reasons.
Hey, I am Team Belichick here. I have no idea if it's going to work out, but because I am really Team me, I am here for the show that it's going to be. Good or bad, it's going to be awesome to watch. Ryan Wilson here on the Adam Gold Show, probably on the other end of the Nick Saban coming back to the NFL spectrum. How do you feel about the Buccaneers creamsicle uniforms coming back on a more regular basis? I'm sure you've thought about this.
Love them. Yeah. You and I are close in age, and they were.
I'm way older than you, sir.
Okay, well, we'll just you ask a 20-year-old, they think we're the same age, so I'll take it. I'll take that as a compliment for both of us. But when that team began with John McKay as the head coach, and he was asked, "What do you think of your team's execution?" He said, "I'm in favor of it." Those all harken back to those creamsicle uniforms, and it was a simpler time, Adam. Yeah. It was a simpler time all around.
Leroy Selman, it's funny. I watched the video that the Buccaneers put out, and it made me laugh because I basically knew. I remember those players when they were in creamsicle uniforms, right? We should have had more Doug Williams highlights, maybe some more James Wilder highlights, but at least we had enough Leroy Selman highlights. Look, I'm a huge fan of old school uniforms. The Chargers coming back, sort of getting to where they were. I like Pat the Patriot. With the whole Patriots thing. I like that better than whatever they've been wearing the last 20 years. Of course, they've won. So as Crash Davis said, don't mess with the streak. Ryan Wilson is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. Speaking of Belichick, real quick, I don't even know what the occasion was, but where do you stand in the debate over who took the bigger risk between Robert Kraft to hire Bill Belichick or Belichick to take the Patriots job?
I love that Belichick said I had other job offers with the Jets. The one he resigned on a napkin and faxed it to him, or whatever the story is there. It's so great. It's two old timers who have a fence separating their yards, and they're arguing over how far into their property line the fence goes, and they're just yelling back and forth at each other. I wish them both well. One's 85, one's 74. They're both worth billions or hundreds of millions. One's dating a 24-year-old who we know quite well through the media. There are worse situations these two could be in, but they should probably just stop talking about one another. The thing is, they made each other so much money, but they want to a lesser degree, they want the credit like Jerry Jones wanted the credit over Jimmy Johnson.
And we're going to get to Jerry Jones in a second here. Here's the thing, in this triangle, Brady, Belichick, Kraft, and it kind of is a triangle because Kraft Robert Kraft's influence kept Tom Brady in New England longer than Bill Belichick would have kept him, and they won Super Bowls as a result of it. But why we can't all agree that it was the combination of the two or three that really led to all the success? And I know Brady won a Super Bowl in Tampa, but that was a team that was built to win a Super Bowl. They just needed competence at quarterback. They got it out of Tom Brady, and Belichick was perfect for the Patriots at the time. Why we have to say that was more important than this? I think they're all dependent upon each other. Is that a crazy? That's the anti-hot take. Did I lose him? I broke Ryan Wilson. Broke him. Absolutely broke him. I've had strong takes. My strong take is that it's a tie between Belichick and Brady. And I know, because this is the way we boil things down, is that, well, Brady won a ring in Tampa. Probably should have won more, to be honest. I saw Brady at the end in New England, and he wasn't any good when there wasn't good personnel. Like, I think it was really the team in Tampa that won the Super Bowl. I don't know why. That, to me, that's not controversial, that Belichick and Brady made each other. I don't know how much of that question you were able to hear, but basically, I kind of feel like all three of those guys were equally responsible for the success.
Yeah, no, I heard the entire question. I feel like Belichick pulled the cord at the moment I was getting ready to respond. He had heard enough of us bad-mouthing him. But I think you're right. Why can't everyone take ownership of the success this franchise had had? And they were struggling prior to Belichick and Kraft buying the team, and, of course, Tom Brady getting drafted in 2000. And together they've all made it what it became. Now, if you want to break up the pie in whatever way, I think probably Tom Brady deserves more credit than Belichick, but that's a conversation you can have. But it is weird that these two old-timers are going back and forth in the media. I get the sense in watching some of those behind-the-scene things over the years, Adam, that Belichick tolerated, quotation marks, Robert Kraft because he was the owner, but Robert Kraft seemed like he meant well and was trying to do the best for the organization. And again, it all worked out. We can give everyone credit for the success that organization had over the last 25 years.
How come Mo Lewis doesn't get all of the credit for knocking Drew Bledsoe out of the season? The Jets are responsible for their own demise. Ryan Wilson is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. I played a clip earlier today of Micah Parsons, who was on a podcast with The Undertaker. I have no idea how that came about. I said the same thing. Is that really The Undertaker? How about that? And the conversation was about, the contract negotiations. What Jerry Jones is never going to learn that the longer you wait, the more expensive it gets?
I don't. It's one of those things that just don't make sense. And the more you think about it, the more your head hurts, and you just have to accept the fact that this is how he's going to do business. And he did it with Dak Prescott. He did it with T. Higgins. He did it with C.D. Lamb. Even previously, he did it with trying to re-sign the running backs. I don't know. And what's going to happen is if the Steelers sign T.J. Watt, now it's going to have to be $1 more than what T.J. Watt makes. Right. T.J. Watt's probably going to be the highest paid edge rusher. And this is going to happen. T.J. Watt is 6 or 7 years older than Micah Parsons. So you're just burning through cash when you could pay Micah now. You could have paid Micah 6 months ago. Yeah. I don't understand the math on it. And now they're going to have three of their best players accounting for, I think, like a third or maybe higher of the salary cap in Dak and CD and Micah when he gets paid.
So, it's the second time they've done that with Dak. I just don't understand, because we know how the rules work when it comes to contracts. The longer you wait, the more expensive it gets. So there's no debate over whether or not the Dallas Cowboys should keep Micah Parsons, right? We've arrived at that decision. So as soon as now's the time to do it. All right, let me ask you one final question, and we're going all over the place with goofiness and football. But there's been a number of rankings of quarterbacks. I think we could all agree that in one way, shape, or form, it's Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, and Burrow. Those top four stand alone. I'm not even going to debate what order they should be in. Who's next on that list?
Well, this is going to sound crazy, but are we talking about guys like Jaden Daniels, if he can have a positive year too? I think Dak does come into that conversation. Jordan Love is probably in there somewhere. C.J. Stroud, he had a down year last year. They went 10-7. They fired their offensive coordinator, so maybe it wasn't him as quite so much. Even Baker Mayfield has his flashes, and he's sort of helped that team turn around. One name I haven't mentioned yet, and maybe on purpose or not, Justin Herbert. Like, he has to. This has to be the year. Like, I give him a lot of grace. I'm a huge Justin Herbert fan, but he has not lived to the same expectations that we've had of Joe Burrow, for example. So I think that's fair to ask. And I think Geno Smith is underrated even at age 34. He's probably maybe the
I didn't
tier
expect
after.
Geno Smith to be mentioned here. That's interesting.
I would probably put him in tier 1.5 to tier 2.5 to tier 3, not tier 2 below the 5 names you mentioned there. I think the takeaway is that there are a lot of good quarterbacks between 1 and probably 12-ish, and then things get a little murky, and young guys, you want to see how they perform and so on and so forth. But Jaden Daniels might be the biggest surprise to me as I went through that thought exercise. Fantastic last year. It's just want to see him put it back-to-back. I think having Cliff Kingsbury there helps. Got to sort out Terry McLaurin. Getting Deebo Samuels will help as well. But that team just goes to show, sort of like the Houston Texans a few years ago, if you get the coach and the quarterback right, you can fix a lot of things quickly on a bad football team.
And that's, honestly, that's the only hesitation I have is that, all right, we've seen it 1 year, and I'm thinking what I saw from C.J. Stroud in year 2, that I want to wait before I say Jaden Daniels belongs, really in that conversation. But, I didn't have him far away. I had Matthew Stafford 5th on my own list, and I think that Jalen Hurts, he's not exactly what we expect necessarily from quarterbacks, just drop back and sling it all over the field all game long, but I don't know, the guy's pretty effective.
Yeah, and Jalen's a good one too. I overlooked him unintentionally, and that's a good call for you, because I know he catches guff unnecessarily, and I think to your point, he fits that system great, and I think he would fit other systems great as well. And all that team does is win, so you can make excuses about why, but he's a big part of it.
Ryan Wilson, CBS Sports. Maybe you and I are the same age. You said guff. You just said he takes a lot of guff. All right. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your summer. I'll hit you soon.
Thank you, Adam. Good talking to you, brother.
You got it. Ryan Wilson here on the Adam Gold Show.